That's probably the intro. It's lovely, it's still sitting there.
What's up guys, Matt from footballboots.co.uk, and today we have our latest boot battle, seeing Nike's Mercurial Superfly 5 going up against the Mercurial Veloce 3DF. So let's see who comes out on top.
Never to be seen again.
So both Nike Mercurial models are obviously suited to more wingers and forward positions, but the difference comes from the Superfly 5, suited and aimed towards elite players, where the Veloce 3DF is more aimed at club and amateur players. So let's actually start to talk about the fit of the Superfly 5 compared to the Veloce 3. Now, because of that speed rib upper and also the flywire, across the midfoot and toe box is going to be very, very narrow. Now we look at the Veloce 3 and it doesn't actually feature speed ribs or those flywire, so it's going to be still narrow but even a little bit more normal. So if you do have wider feet and you can't fit into the Superfly 5, then the Veloce 3 is a great option for you. Now talking about both boots in terms of sizing, they both in terms of length fit exactly the same size, which is true to size. I'm a UK 10.5, the Superfly here is a 10.5 and so is the Veloce 3, and both fit me perfectly in terms of length. So although looking pretty similar, one of the biggest and most important factors between the Superfly 5 and Veloce 3DF is the actual upper. And the Superfly 5 features a Flyknit and Nike skin combination, which is incredibly premium and there to give you a barefoot feeling and lots of touch and feel on the ball. And where the Veloce 3DF actually differs, it features a Tizen Avail upper, which is a little bit like a scaled down Vapor 11, and it is still thin but not as premium in hand or on feet compared to that Superfly 5 Flyknit and Nike skin. So many thanks to Lovell Soccer for sending us both the Superfly 5 and the Veloce 3. If you do want to purchase your own pair of the Mercurial range, then go onto our website and use the black orange code for 10% off from Lovell Soccer. Now when you do actually buy these boots, one of the factors you're going to be looking at is how long they actually take to break in. Now the Superfly 5 obviously does have that speed rib upper, and it is going to just take a few sessions to become more user friendly and flexible. And that goes exactly the same for the Veloce 3. It doesn't have the speed rib upper, but it is naturally just a little bit stiffer, so just allow several sessions of both the Superfly and the Veloce before actually wearing them in your matches. So let's actually start to talk about the actual feel of the upper of the Superfly compared to the Veloce. Now both boots are going to be very, very thin and barefoot. Now the difference will come, the Superfly 5 is a little bit stiffer than what you found on the Superfly 4 because of those speed ribs, but the Veloce 3 is actually going to be even stiffer than that Superfly. So if you are looking for the most premium feeling boot out there in the Mercurial range, then go for the Superfly, but if you do want that slightly cheaper version, go for the Veloce 3, but it will be slightly stiffer.
Never to be seen again.
Now one of the biggest selling points of the Superfly 5 and Veloce 3 is that both models feature a mid-cut dynamic fit collar. Now the difference comes from the Superfly 5 featuring a very premium feeling Flyknit material, which really hugs around the ankle for a very sock-like fit. The Veloce 3 will also feature a dynamic fit collar, but it won't be as soft or premium feeling compared to the Superfly 5. It's a little bit stiffer and it uses an alternative knitted material, so it won't fit as snugly around the ankle compared to that Superfly 5. So let's get into the actual technologies of the premium Superfly 5, and as you can imagine, Nike have packed it with performance enhancing features, including that new speed rib upper, which is just there to enhance a little bit more ball control, and it does just give a little bit more friction when playing different shapes with passing and shooting. Across that speed rib upper, Nike have also added their ACC technology, which is just there to give you a little bit more consistent touch if you are playing in wet conditions. So one of the main factors that I look for in a boot, and what the Superfly 5 does incredibly well, is adding a high level of lockdown fit. Now the Superfly 5, like previous models, of course features those flywire cables either side of the boot, and it just links the sole plate to their lacing system, and it does work very effectively. So whilst the Superfly 5 poses as a very technology rich model, the Veloce 3DF just can't compete. The Veloce 3 actually doesn't feature the same speed rib upper as that Superfly 5 and prefers horizontal ridges a little bit like the Vapor 11, but they're still not as aggressive. Alongside featuring no speed ribs, the Veloce 3DF also doesn't feature ACC technology and no flywire, so a level of lockdown will be lost compared to that premium Superfly 5. So a huge modification from the previous Superfly 4 to the newer Superfly 5 model is the new compressed nylon chassis, which is actually 40% lighter than the previous carbon fibre model. The new sole plate itself is also contoured, which means that it's going to be more responsive and anatomically better fitting because your foot acts as a platform for pacey performances. So whilst the outsole of the Superfly 5 is a huge bonus on the newer model, the Veloce 3 sole plate is noticeably cheaper compared to that Superfly 5, and it also doesn't feature the same contouring as that premium model, so the level of responsiveness won't be the same as the pair of Superfly boots worn by some of the best players in the world. So alongside the increased responsiveness that the sole plate offers, the Superfly 5 also features bladed chevron studs, which is there to offer very high level traction on firm ground surfaces. The Veloce 3DF also features very similar bladed chevron studs, which really do offer high level traction. Trust me when I say that. It's one of the most responsive sole plates on the entire market, but the difference comes from the Superfly 5 featuring a translucent finish on those chevron studs, whereas the Veloce 3 looks a little bit more scaled down again through being left solid. So with the Mercurial range being a speed themed boot, you would probably expect the most premium Superfly 5 model to be the lightest in the range. Now the Superfly 5 actually weighs in at 217 grams, which is 7.6 ounces, but the scaled down Veloce 3DF is actually more lightweight, weighing in at 212 grams, which is 7.5 ounces. So that is actually lighter than the Superfly 5, although being the scaled down model. So looking at the design of the Superfly 5 and Veloce 3DF, and they both share the same floodlight pack colourway, which is Purple Dynasty, Vivid Purple and Bright Citrus. Now the difference comes from the Superfly 5 featuring the half and half design, which is very modern and bold, and it isn't to everyone's taste. And the Veloce 3 actually differs from that because it lacks that half and half design and looks a lot more like the Vapor 11 through that pinstriped effect.
So if you guys out there are interested in buying one of the Mercurial range, you're more than likely going to be focusing on one aspect, and that is performance. Now the Superfly 5 does have that brand new contoured sole plate and also that stud configuration, and you really will get 10 out of 10 in terms of responsiveness and traction. Now the Veloce 3 doesn't actually feature that contoured sole plate, but it still features that same chevron shaped stud configuration, so the responsiveness still will be there, although it will be more like an 8 or 9 out of 10 rather than the Superfly, which is more of a 10 out of 10. Now the difference between the upper is that the speed ribs on the Superfly 5 gives you a lot of purchase compared to the Veloce 3. So if you do want that really high performing boot, then go for the Superfly 5, or if you're more of a club and amateur player, then you can go for the Veloce 3. So I've got a pair of Superfly 5 in my hand and also a pair of Mercurial Veloce 3. Now which boot is for me and which boot is for you? Now for me, playing a pretty good level of football, I'd personally go for the Superfly 5 because it is very high performing, but it does come with a high price tag. So just be aware, if you do want a Superfly 5, you're gonna have to pay quite a lot of money for them. Now the Veloce 3 is much more better suited to the club players out there, so if you aren't interested in the highest level of performance, then go for the Veloce 3. So that's my opinion on the Mercurial Superfly and Veloce 3. Let us know which boot you prefer in the comment section below, and also in that poll card which is at the top of the screen now. Thanks for watching guys, cheers.